I finished that week in New York and everything. So yeah, I went to Florida, North Carolina, Washington, different states. So yeah, it was a long trip this time. Yeah.
Very good. And
looking forward to go back to the US, probably in April again for another 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll see.
We'll see. Okay.
We have Ines, Ines from Sierra Norte as well.
Oh, excellent.
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful. Hi. Glad you could join us.
Hello. Sure, my pleasure.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Elio from Carcello. Katie has joined us. And
I think I saw Shane from Eagles.
Eagle, yay!
Hey, hello,
good to see you. Oh, I'm so happy to see so many faces from Jumilla here.
Yay!
Hi, Katie. How are you?
Hi, Katie.
Good. How are you? Hey, Kristy.
Hi.
Hello,
Katie.
All right. Good. A good show of hands here. All right. And all right. Okay. Good. So I'm sure some more folks will pop in, but I'm glad to see so many people from Jumilla join us. I know it's 8 p.m. for you, so apologies for the late Zoom call, but we got 9 hours to stretch between California and Jumilla, so it's a bit of a challenge. So, but anyway, I'm glad you could all join us today. I have from the United States, we have Kristy Wenz, who if you've seen her doing some of the social media with us here, and we'll have Lori Budd, who will be moderating the session for us. Lori was able to join us in Jumilla in the fall of last year, so she's very familiar with the region. And then we have Katie from DC. She'll be joining us here as well. And
Elio, please put the sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, better. Okay. All right. Perfect. We got some new faces here too. Terrific. So I'm glad everybody could join us today. I'm going to let Lori run the show because I'm interested in seeing what her perspective is, since she visited the region and just passed the Spanish Wine Scholar Guild with honors. So we're gonna I'm gonna let her give her a quick overview of excuse me, one more person coming in, of the region and the wines. And the way we're going to do this is that we'll go through the wines, and we'd love to hear your feedback as a blogger, what you tasted, what you experienced, just any kind of feedback you can give about the wines, and then have some of the wineries kind of, have a conversation here. This is a conversation. This is not shouldn't be anything stressful. This is about engaging both sides of the ocean here to talk about Jumilla and bring in the holidays. Okay, so
absolutely.
Lori, if you want to go ahead, and I've given you permission to share your presentation and everything. So
awesome.
And we will be recording this, just so you know. So if some of the wineries couldn't make it, we can see this next time.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Just April, we keep an eye, because I think Isidoro from Esencia will be joining as well.
Yes, yeah, he told me he would try to jump in, so I'm just making sure that everyone can get on here.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, perfect. Well, welcome everybody. I am very excited to be moderating, or just talking with everybody here about Jumilla. I told April earlier that it's all her fault that I am now a Spanish wine scholar, because my first visit to Spain was to Jumilla, and it was incredible. And it triggered my love of exploring more of the Spanish wines and the region. And I joke, but it's like my cheeks hurt when I was there because I was smiling so much of how much beauty it is and how much history there is. And I had the opportunity to, walk through the vineyards and geek out with the winemakers and talk about some pretty incredible stuff that happens in Jumilla that doesn't happen everywhere else. And that's what's really special. So the first thing I would like to do is I put this together, and I'm going to hope that it works. So give me 1 second, and you should be able to see this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so as you can see, there was lots to smile about there. I mean, it was so beautiful. And that didn't even get to really the wine itself, which, before we get into the wineries, it really, the price, the quality of wine you're getting here in the United States for the quality that it is like, it's unbelievable. These are high quality wines. And the winemakers, having been able to speak with them, individually and walk their vineyards and have conversations with them, the passion is off the charts. The passion for all of the wines they make, but especially with the Monastrell. This is the home of Monastrell, and the passion they have for this is absolutely incredible. So we're going to get into the wineries, the wines themselves in a little bit, but I wanted to give a little bit of introduction to each of the wineries themselves so that you can kind of see what is going on with them. And where is slideshow? There we go. All right. And now, April, I've been taking my little Spanish. I'm on day 400 now.
Okay.
But my accent probably is still wrong. So please help me if I say something incorrectly.
You're fine.
So the first winery that we have is Parajes del Valle. And this is really awesome because the name says it all. It's the landscape of the valley. That is what the name means. And the picture here is of the Esperada grass. And while we were tasting, that's kind of the telltale of that you are tasting this Monastrell from Jumilla, from this region of Jumilla. It's like, as you smell it, you can it just pops out of the nose and you're like, yes, this is Jumilla from this region. The winery itself has certified organic Monastrell grapes, and they all come from vineyards that are at least 15 years old, and they go up to about 40 years old. And they actually go across 4 plots within the region of Jumilla. And the kind of cool thing about them is that they have the Tarahe system.
Parajes. Lori, you might go scroll up to Parajes and click on Parajes, because right now we're seeing Sierra Norte.
Oh,
yeah.
Are you?
Yep.
Really?
Well, at least I am for some reason.
Is everybody seeing that?
Yes.
Oh.
Because I'm seeing on my screen, I'm seeing the Parajes del Valle, so I don't know.
Just
Should I
click on
stop
the
sharing?
slide. Yeah, just click on the slide. That's all. All you can do is scroll up and click on that slide, and that
Okay,
should
let me
fix it.
hold on.
Yeah, maybe if you
There you
put the
go.
whole picture.
That's it.
I'll do it that way.
Yeah.
I'll do it that way. I guess maybe, oh, you know what, maybe when I do the presentation, it's not sharing that whole presentation. Okay. So sorry about that.
No
So
worries.
the Tarahe system is where it's like the vineyards are rented out to the farmers, and they give back 7% of the production in turn for taking care of the vineyards. So it's just showing the relationship between the farmers and the wineries, and how they are hand in hand working together to create fantastic wine. Bodegas Luzon, these vineyards are located in the north portion of Murcia province, and they are on a very high plateau surrounded by mountains. They're at about 600 meters above, and actually some higher than that. And they are focused on very low yields that are processed by individual small plots. So these are one of the larger this is one of the larger producers in the DO, but they're also one of the most historic, and they actually are dating back to the 19th century. Now, Sierra Norte, they have over 50 hectares of bush vine monastrell. So bush vine means that it's growing naturally. There are no, they're not using wires. There's no trellis system. And they have vines that are dating back to 1958. And they are focused on reducing grape yields while increasing biodiversity. And they have been organic vineyards since 2012. However, they're not seeking certification, but they are farming it as organic. And I just like to be doing the zip lining and the climbing through the vineyard or through their site must be a beautiful thing to participate in. Bodegas Alceño, they just celebrated their 150th anniversary, so happy anniversary, and that was in 2020. And they are actually the first commercial winery in Jumilla, and they currently are able to produce 3,500,000 liters, which I had to do the math. So it's about 385,000 cases. And they combine both tradition and modernization. They do cryo maceration in the cellar. So they're constantly using the latest technology, but then they're also relying back on their tradition. Bodegas Carchello. These were this was the first winery that we met. When we went to Jumilla, we landed, we drove, and we had like a late lunch, early dinner or whatever. And we sat in this beautiful restaurant, and they were the first winery that we met. They are a family founded winery back to 1990. And they are at the foot of the Sierra del Carche, which is where the name is coming from, which is the protected regional park. And its highest peak, the Madama, is over 1,300 meters high. So they have a very unique climate there because they are very close to the Mediterranean, but they also have an inland plateau. So they're having a traverse of kind of different climates coming together. The estate vineyards are dispersed across 5 different regions within Jumilla. So they're getting a lot of different variety of growing conditions to provide into their, to give some complexity into their wines. And they are actually the first winery in Jumilla to obtain the seal of responsible communication. So this is given to companies that are committed to ethical values as well as professional obligation. And then Essentia. So Essentia Wines has estate vineyards that are located more than 700 meters above sea level. And similar to the Carcella, they have a plot land set aside for kind of research to help always promote the better vineyard styles and, learning the grapes that produce the best and how to work with them to continue to increase the quality. And this was really cool. They have a wine museum at the Hacienda del Carte that it's Casa de la Hermeta. And the museum, like we walked through and there were a couple of images in there from that museum that just is showing the winemaking history throughout the region with actual, artifacts from the past. So it was really an exciting experience to walk through this museum and see the history unfold, like where they were living, where people lived while the vineyards were first being grown, and the vessels that were being used, and all of the different types of ways to open the winery, to open the wines. It was exciting to see that. And then Ego Bodegas, I have to go with, I apologize for calling anybody up, but one of the coolest labels ever on one of their wines. You take this flame and you do it, and it's like a Ouija board, and the letters change on the label. And it just was a unique thing. And they themselves are very unique. So in their own words, they say that the winery has its beginnings a bit different than other wineries in the region. We do not come from a family of winemakers or growers. Instead, they basically came from, they wanted to, so she is from Romania. Iona, April, am I? Iona, okay, is from Romania, and Santos is Spanish origin. And according by their words, we launched the project doing the opposite to what books tell you what to see in the industry. The idea was simple: to achieve a balance between 3 concepts of quality, image, price, and then we just buckled down and did the work. So Jumilla has so many family-oriented wineries that have so much tradition, and that is one aspect of it. And then to see this winery come in that is, starting from the very start, from ground up, or actually they say roof down, but it was incredible to see, again, the passion that is there and how you can start these wineries with different viewpoints, but the quality is always there. That's always the forefront for me, I think, with Jumilla Wines, is that quality. And then the last winery we have is Bodegas Oliveras. Their history dates back to 1930, when Pascual Oliveras Fernandez recognized that Monastrell was ideal for this area in Jumilla. And their vineyards themselves are located in the northwest corner of Jumilla appellation. They have 275 hectares of vineyards, of which, hectares of estate, but about 110 hectares are actually planted to old ungrafted Monastrell vines. So this is something that's really special also about Jumilla, is that because of the soils that they had, although phylloxera did hit, there's regions that they have the vines that are actually on their own rootstock. And that is carrying these old vines all the way through to today. And from then, so they actually practice the marcatage replanting system, which is kind of cool. They take a vine, when one vine dies off, they're going to, let me stop sharing. When one vine actually dies off, they take a portion of this vine and they from the vine next to it, and they take it, they loop it down, and they put it under the ground, and they kind of bury it, and then that allows that space that lost the vine to now grow another vine, but it's the same DNA, it's the same vineyard, so it's all off of that same rootstock. It's carrying on that tradition of that wine, of that vineyard, I'm sorry. So those are the wineries that across the board, I think everybody has had, that may have in their wine, in their glass today. And so, I think it's time to see what people have in their glass. And then I'll go a little further into some more about Jumilla itself. But I always think it's time to drink. So, so does somebody want to start off with a bottle that they have in their glass, and we can talk about what you're getting out of it. And if the winery is here, they can go a little more in depth into it.
Lori, can I ask you a question first?
Sure.
The pareja system that you mentioned with the first winery where the farmers rent the vineyard land,
Yes.
are they renting it from the winery or from someone else?
So
Who owns the land?
Right. So my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that the winery is renting it, and that's why, so they're giving back, like the vineyard workers, the owners are giving back a portion to the winery to make sure that it is tended. Oh no, I said that backwards. Right. So the winery owns it, but they want the farmers to tend to them with care. So they tend to it, and their payment is like 7% of the grapes can go back. So they can make wine, is my understanding.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes,
Sorry.
I think this is a very, very old style, It's like from the Middle Age times when the rich people had a lot of land. So
Right.
they couldn't actually work at all. They would let some land for the workers, and in exchange they had to pay like a fee for using the land, right? But it's a old tradition of, I don't think it's nowadays, right? Yes,
Today it still exists.
yeah.
It's the terraje system. As you said correctly, big families own big portions of land, and they rent this land to the farmers. And as a rent, they pay 1/7 part of the yield to the owner of the land. So, for example, if I yield 7,000 kilograms of grapes, and that makes, I make an example, 700 euros, he has to pay 1/7, so 100 euros to the owner of the land. That would be the system. It still exists today. It's very old, it's very out of date, but it still exists.
Okay.
Well, Dimitri, you may as well take the chance to say hello and explain the guys, who are you?
Well, sorry, yes, I did not introduce myself. My name is Dimitri. I am the vineyard manager of Parajes del Valle. There is a winemaker, and I am responsible of selecting the different vineyards. Many of them are family-owned vineyards, and work with the agricultors in order to obtain the best quality grapes. We look for a perfect balance, mostly of acidity and alcohol, in order to produce elegant and pure wines, very balanced, where the Monastrell grape is really natural.
Does anybody have their wine? I do not have your wine to taste. Does anybody have their wine that would like to share about it?
Let's see. Kristy, did you? Sorry, I
have wines, but not Parais. No.
Okay. Okay, so
Sorry,
we tasted.
I had a flu, so
You
we
too.
Dimitri, if my memory serves me correctly, we tasted in your vineyard, correct?
Yes, yes.
Right. Can you hold up your bottle so people can see?
Of course. This is our Parajes from Jumilla. It's 100% Monastrell. So the idea of the project is, as Esther said, because of this old system of vineyard, we want to keep these kind of vineyards that are not very productive, but produce very good quality grapes, very balanced and very pure. We look for vineyards that are close to the hills, so we are 100% sure that they are organic farm, and we have the aromas of the Mediterranean herbs like thyme, rosemary, and others, and we keep the minerality of the terroir because Jumilla, as the name says, Parajes, is a lot of microzones, and as we saw in the pictures, there is a lot of hills with more rock, with less rock, with no rock at all. And all these conditions will produce different kinds of grapes, and we want to represent all of them in our wine. So we produce the wine the way that we keep the freshness and the pureness of the grape from the vineyard to the glass.
Excellent. And I believe that this is where we went right before the night, and
yes, it was very cold.
That sunset picture that's at the end of my slides,
Yeah.
that is from your vineyard site, where that beautiful sky was coming in. That was that.
Yes,
that
it was
sunset.
really nice, but really cold too.
Yeah, it was a little chilly. It was a little chilly, but that's okay. And just as a little briefing for anybody who is new to Jumilla, right? It is located in southeast Spain. It is about 180 miles from Madrid and about 50 miles from the Mediterranean Sea. So they do have that influence. And this, I saw that Rick just came on or something. This was kind of one of the coolest things that I, stood out to me when I was taking the Spanish Wine Scholar program, is that Jumilla is actually a supra-autonomous region. So what that means is that the region is divided between two other regions. So there is Castilla-La Mancha, there's parts of Jumilla in Castilla-La Mancha, and then in Murcia. And there's only two other autonomous regions that do, there's only two other regions that do that. So Rioja and Cava. So that kind of is a nice little standout for Jumilla, is that this is something special about them. And there's a large portion of land in the Castilla-La Mancha region, but the larger portion of vineyards is in the Murcia region. So it separates between these two autonomous regions. And it actually consists of 7 towns divided up to make up this Jumilla region. So it's, there's so much special and unique things about Jumilla that people should be exploring.
Dimitri,
Okay.
you mentioned using organic grapes. How difficult or not is it to farm organically here?
Actually, I wouldn't know the exact proportion of organic and non-organic, but it's quite common. It's not a strange thing because the weather conditions here are very good for organic farming. It's not a difficult thing. Many families started in the early 1990s, so it's not something new here. And some people are not organic certified, but they don't apply any treatment to the vineyard because they don't need to. So sometimes there are vineyards that are not organic certified. We can't use them for organic wines, but nevertheless, they are still, the grapes are still produced like an organic farming.
So Katie, in my reading, it is estimated that there is 70% of the vineyards are actually certified to be organic. So
And
it is
there's-
definitely something that
Yes.
they are dedicated to.
It's true that we have to think one thing is when the actually to work non-organic is more costly because organic is just letting the vineyard follow the seasons and follow the time. So if you don't need to use specific systemics, you don't use them. It's as simple as that. So it's very easy to believe we work organically. Mostly, we can say for fact more than 70%, but we know we are 98% organical vineyards just because it's not needed to use systemic. We don't have much infections, and when we have them, they go away very easy because also it's very windy and it's very, very little humidity here. So the illnesses of the plants don't grow and don't develop as much. And we can treat our problems very located. No need to do big investment in systematic non-organic. So that's a bit the reason why. I mean, for us, it's not an effort to work organically. It's just keeping nature.
Great, thank you.
And so I have a glass. So, and I think that they are here. So Bodegas Cachelo, do we have?
Yes, there's
Leon?
Elio. Hi, Elio.
Elio?
Can you hear me? Is it
Hi,
working?
Elio. Hello.
Hola.
Yes.
I have the same model than you.
Ah, we are lucky.
I thought
Yes,
you
we
had
are.
thinking already, no? I thought
No, we can
Yes.
try.
you still have some left, Laurie. You haven't
I
think it
do.
already.
I didn't. It was very difficult to not sit really. I was just sniffing.
She traveled with her Coravin all the way from California.
I did. Because I wanted to make sure I could take the bottles back. I didn't want to leave them here.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
so
let's
Elio,
speak
you want to
about
talk
the-
about this?
tell us,
So,
Elio, because we've got
let
we got a
me-
couple of folks here have your wines, and love to hear from you what you have to say.
So, okay, let me. I presented a Shiraz wine. It's not a Monastrell. Because I thought that you was going to have a lot of Monastrell, so why not something different? It's something special on this wine. I'm sorry that not many people can test it now, but I'm sure you will have the chance. So on the year 1996, this company, Bodegas Cachelo, was the one that introduced the Shiraz grape on the southeast of Spain. And that year was introduced also on the DOP Jumilla, DO on that time. It's a variety that on the moment in which it was brought to this terroir, to this weather, it was something on the mind of the people, not on me, I was too young on that moment, that they were thinking that this weather and this terroir was going to give something special to a variety that was already working very well on many different places. The clone that was brought to this area was the one that was working very well on the south of France. And the result that we are getting now with this style of wine, the weather, have in mind that Jumilla used to have 300 sunny days every year. The diurnal temperature used to be over 15 degrees. And the vineyards that we are cultivating are more or less on 600, 650 meters. So with those facts, we have the maturation of the grapes, for sure, we are on Jumilla. The problem is not get to the maturation, it's to be over the maturation almost every year. So we have the maturation, the color, and the acidity because of the diurnal high temperature that we have every day. And at the end, what we get with a wine of this style, instead of everything that you are looking on a wine with the acidity, with the Syrah, with the berries, is a amazing good final. Once you enjoy the beginning and the full of mouth that you get with this wine, at the end you have something very, very, very smooth. So we are able to produce, just because we are here, there's not more secrets, just try to do the things correct, a wine that is very, very gastronomic. So you can pair with even a rice or a soft plate. Recommended even with fish. It's something very special for this style of wine. We are producing this wine from a single vineyard. It's on, I don't know my camera.
There it
It's
is.
only one vineyard for this wine. I think I have any filter. So, the label, what we try to do in here is to show the vineyard on the bottle. We cannot show you everything. So what we have, sometimes when the camera is stopped, here is a lift of the Syrah plant, of one of the Syrah plants of the vineyard that we are producing for this vintage. We are not using this, we are not changing this picture every year because it's very difficult to find a lift that we can picture on a correct way, but we used to change it every couple of years. So we refresh the label usually. It's a wine that has been awarded with more than 90 points everywhere where we presented. And it's something special that we had on Jumilla with this wine. We have a competition of wines or a test of wines, a guide, a little guide. And we presented the Syrah, the vintage 2015, and it was the winner of the Crianzas wines at all. So it's a wine that people who is accustomed to drink monastery wine is even able to enjoy and enjoy very much. So I challenge you to test it. You don't have the bottle, we can send you next time or the following days.
Let's see, Elio, I think, Lauren, would you like to comment? Because you received this wine. Would you like to say anything?
I did, and I would love to talk about this wine because I enjoyed it so very much. First of all, that it was Syrah was a surprise and a nice one. I found it, what was so appealing about it is that there was a lot of ripe fruit, berry, cherry, really luscious, but there was a freshness and the acidity that kept everything so balanced, and it was delicious with food. And I thought it just sort of spoke to Jumilla's unique character as a region, where you're in a very warm part of Spain, but you have this elevation and you have other climatic factors that keep the wines fresh and light. And despite the high alcohol and the structure, there is a freshness to them that really is delicious. So thank you for making this wine, Helio. It was beautiful.
Thank you, Lauren. Just one point. We were talking about the organic wine. It's two things of mine for the organic wine. Organic wine for me is something that is organic, but for the market is something that you have certified. Mm-hmm. We started with a certification on the year 2019, and the vintage that we have now for testing is not certified, even if it is. But we are going to get the certification from the vintage 2000, and checking if 19 or 20. So only is going to be organic grape, not organic wine.
Excellent.
So
excellent.
Yeah, as you can see right there, like Monastrell is kind of the queen of Jumilla, but wineries are able to produce other wines, and with this is a Syrah, so it demonstrates the diversity that they can do. And with the Monastrell, we have lots of wineries that do 100% Monastrell, and then we have wineries that are doing blends. And I think a lot of this has to do with they're all looking for that brightness, like Lauren was talking about, that freshness, that, the acidity that's there in all the wines. And each winemaker is approaching it in different ways to create this style of wine. Helio had mentioned about the temperature, and there was an article in the Ames Agriculture and Food back in 2016 that talks about the diversity of the climate in Spain in itself. But they did their research in Jumilla, I believe, in association with you. And the research predicted that in southeastern peninsula that it is affected by harsher environmental changes, and that the records in the Segura River Basin during the periods of 1940 to 1997 showed a pronounced tendency for rising temperatures starting in 1970. And it is actually predicted by 2050 that the rise in temperature in Jumilla in the region will rise to be area to be minus 2.3 or change to 2.3 degrees Celsius, while you're also losing your precipitation, which is already very low. They're predicting that the precipitation will be down by 15%. And Coachella was talked very specifically about the help with the research with this project. I'm assuming it was dealing with the research plot that you have.
For me, if I can share my opinion here about the weather change, every year is different. I cannot say if it's saying on the weather or not, because every year is something different here. I think everywhere. About the water, we have a big problem. And we are going to have a bigger problem. The plants, even the monastrell, you say monastrell is with not irrigation. Yes. When I was a kid and I was with my grandfather on the vineyard, the monastrell was with not irrigation, but the liter of waters that the rain was giving to the plant was 3 times what we have now. So it's not the same to have not irrigation plant adapted to not raining that to almost not raining. And you can see how the plants are giving less and less grape every year, or different kind of grapes every year. We have vineyards and we produce on our own vineyards. And a year specialized like this one that was very, very warm and almost not raining, for ours was 40% less on the harvest. Same work, same cost, same people, same mind, looking for the wine, not for the grapes, 40% less. Yeah. It's something that you can find on a year like this one. What happened if this year amazingly start raining a little bit? Just a little bit. We don't really need a lot. Probably we are going to have more than that 40% next year. So it's something that we are taking very well. And what we are doing is going up and upper and upper in the mountain. So far, what we have on the Carches Valley is the vineyard that is in border with the mountain. So as in the mountain as we can be. And probably that is the point. Going to places with more humidity, more than water, more humidity, because it's something that we used to have on the Carche Valley on the hills. And it's humidity in the morning. So in the morning, sometimes you go there and you are not even able to see the mountain. That used to be very scary for the winemakers, because if you have that point of humidity in the morning, what the plants used to have everywhere is some contamination and some disease. On Jumilla, we don't have it. Why we don't have it? Because the humidity here used to be at 20–30%. And it's a place with a lot of wind. So it's a windy place, no humidity. And if you have humidity in the morning, the plants drink it, the sun shines, and then it gets clean and dry. So it's not contamination. It's not problems of arthritis or that kind of things. It's something special of the place. Again, we are not doing something special. The place is doing something special for us. What we are looking for is for the best place to do the cultivation, or to adapt or move the plants. And it's the single thing we can do, because we cannot invent the water, and we have what we have.
Right. It's funny we're discussing this, because one of the topics I wanted to bring up during the discussion was about climate change and how Jumilla is mitigating the problems with climate change, the fact that the native varietal of Monastrell is actually beneficial to the region because it is adapted to its specific unique environment. And it's nice to hear from you. What are you doing in the vineyard to deal with climate change? And that is heading for the hills, literally, because of the altitude. So it's good to hear what's going on in your end. And speaking of Monastrell, I was thinking maybe we could talk about 100% Monastrell from Altos de Luzon.
Yes.
Yeah, and Ramon, you want to talk about that and tell us about Monastrell?
I don't know. I was hoping first to listen to some of the the bloggers or the tasters in this case, to give us the feedback on that. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't know, Lauren, or I don't know who tasted. I was checking. I think.
Well, it's Katie and Lauren and Lori.
Katie, yeah.
Lori, they all have your wine. So.
And Rick.
I was very much looking forward to
Rick's in the car. He can't talk well.
Hearing from them really about the feedback and everything. It will be interesting to know. So.
I have the wine here as well.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kristy.
It's really fresh on the nose. The aromatics are really pronounced. And it's a combination to me of some like black fruits and red fruits, but also some like dusty, herbaceous, maybe thyme or something sagey, but something kind of that green leafy garden herbaceousness to it on the nose, but so fresh. Haven't tasted it yet. I've been sitting here smelling these wines, but definitely very fresh on the nose. And the same, I think like Lauren mentioned earlier about the Syrah, it has that acidity that comes through, especially mid-palate here. Having a hard time talking because it's creating so much moisture in my mouth.
Right.
So that acidity is so bright and refreshing, and the fruits really come through, and it's got like a hint of almost I want to say like a kind of citrus zest on the finish to me. There's like a hint of citrus zest on the finish. Not overpowering on oak at all. I don't know the production of this one. I haven't looked at the tech sheet yet. So I don't know if this was an oak or not, but I'm not getting any kind of extracted oak. The fruit is fresh, the acidity is fresh, the spices come through on that herbaceous spiciness. Super easy to drink, and it's making me crave some, I don't know, some pork or some meat or something nice and hefty for the holiday season. I think this is just a beautiful wine.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Glad you like it. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna talk a little bit, and then maybe some of the others can say something about it and everything. Yeah. I mean, Altos de Luzon always has been the flagship of the winery, and especially in the U.S. market as well, but in many of the markets for sure. It's like we got this wine presented in many countries and all. So. But it's true, our winemaker, Vicente Mico, decided to change the blend because this wine for many years used to be Monastrell, Tempranillo, and Cabernet Sauvignon, 50% Monastrell, and then Tempranillo, Cabernet Sauvignon, 25. And he changed the blend, to a single variety wine, 100% Monastrell. He wanted to focus on the Monastrell as the indigenous grape in the region and stuff. And also Vicente, when he started making these wines and everything, has changed the wines a lot. For the ones here, our wines many years ago before Vicente started making the wines and everything. Now they are more fresh. We're looking for more acidity, easier to drink. And also something you already said as well on your feedback is like they are more easy to drink, I will say, than before, for sure. And the fruit is more there and everything. That this is one of the aims we wanted to do. It's like the oak is less predominant as well. This wine has been in oak for 12 months, French and American oak. But it is true, it is true that, I mean, probably in Spain many years ago, and this is changing, we used to overuse the oak and everything. And now this is changing, and this is one example of what we do now at Bodegas Luzón. And with these wines made, we do 100% Monastrell. As I said, Vicente wanted to make 100% Monastrell with oak, and giving a good example of what we can do with Monastrell with oak. And this is a good example and something more approachable. It is true we are what we are, and the alcohol is there, is 14.5 and stuff, but it's true at some point you couldn't tell. I mean, it's like it's quite approachable and easy to drink, and it's more modern style, especially when we talk about aging, I mean, in oak and stuff. So this is probably the aim of this wine. So I don't know. So yeah, pretty much is what we're trying to do.
I think it is so bright. It's the red fruit, and the acidity. It just salivates your tongue, which to me is, begging you to take another sip. And also it allows you to enjoy it really on its own, but because of that, the flavors that are in there, the acidity that are in there, it can pair with, it can stand up to a lot of food also. And that to me is the perfect balance. And Monastrell, because of the way it's got such a high concentration of anthocyanins in it, it can be brutish. It can be kind of rough, and it's the winemaking style that Jumilla is focusing in on. That this is elegant. This is a pretty wine. It's not an in-your-face tannin, because it can have a lot of tannins, and it's tamed down with that acidity, and that acidity balances out that alcohol. You don't guess that it's that high of an alcohol when it's that balanced of a wine.
I think as well, because as far as I know, you are tasting the 2020, and we are quite happy with this vintage. I remember in October when we were in New York, because now we are changing the vintage really pretty much. So I remember in New York, we had Sun 19 and Sun 20. And I remember tasting the 20 there, and we were so impressed with the 2020. We are quite happy. I think it's the best so far right now, and you are tasting that one. So we are starting to sell that vintage in the US now. So hopefully, more people will enjoy and everything. So we're quite happy. We're quite happy with what we got. I think Vicente, the winemaker, has been doing a really great job with this wine, and now probably we are in the peak of that really good quality and exactly what he wanted to do with this wine. So yeah,
good.
With that,
Katie, would you like to say something, because you received one?
Yes. So I just piggyback on honestly what both Kristy and Lori said. The word elegant came to my mind before Lori said it, and I'd never really paired that with Monastrell before. But this is an elegant wine, and it does have that fresh herbaceousness on the nose and a really nice finish. And sometimes I think at this price point, when I find balanced red wines that are really approachable and enjoyable, the thing that's lacking for me is often the finish. There's either a short finish or something slightly unpleasant about the finish, and that's kind of the telltale for me that maybe this is just a value wine. This has an amazing finish, and I was trying to sneak a peek at the price. I don't like to do that, but I'm sure it's a great value. So I think it's a wonderful, wonderful wine, and I hope I can find it around here. So I have to take a look.
Lauren, did you want to mention anything as well?
Well, I really enjoyed this wine also. Monastrell's not usually what I would consider delicate. In many cases, this was very well balanced, and it was an amazing food wine. My husband and I had made some stuffed portobello mushrooms with some sun-dried tomatoes and things, and it was a big hit. So yeah, another really nice wine here.
Terrific. Terrific, terrific. Why don't we move on to the next wine that I think would make a good next step would be the Hacienda del Carche, because we can talk about blends. How's that?
Okay. All right.
Let's see, Lauren, Katie, you got the Hacienda del Carche, and Rick did too. He's listening. He's in the car. So
Sorry, could you say that which one again?
Hacienda del Carche from Essencia, correct? Isidoro,
Yes, that's me.
would you like to give us a little introduction?
Sorry,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay.
I am, well, great to be here with you guys. Sorry for the voice. I'm like you, April. I had the flu. It's going around here. So
It's
this is why I hope to have a little extra hour. I thought I could nap, but I guess I was wrong with the timing. Yeah, I think that Carche. So you have there the cepas viejas, the old vines. I guess you do have the new vintage. Therefore, what we have here is a 70% Monastral, 30% Cabernet Sauvignon. Basically, what we're trying to do is approach the wine with old vines. So you have a lot of extractions. We are planting the highest vines of the property. So we go for the colder winters or hotter summers, suffering, making the vines to suffer. So they struggle and they make better wines. They grow the grapes grow with that extra layer, extra thickness of the skin, where you have all those tannins, beautiful ones. But then you have to mine them all up. And what you mine them with is the beautiful the French oak. So we age them for 12 months in French oak. We use second year oak, so it doesn't overwhelm, because you want to give that softness and touch from the French oak, the coffee, the roasty notes, but you don't want to overwhelm. You want the fruit to be fruit forward. You want it to be up front, so it's pleasant to approach the wine. So on the nose, you're going to find that. You're going to find the typical notes from the Monastral, which is that black currant. You're going to have the spices, like the black pepper. But then you have the Cabernet Sauvignon, which is giving the structure of the wine. It's giving more the spine of it, and also that black pepper, and again, black fruit. But some eucalyptus notes and some herbaceous. That's all going on together. It's a pretty soft when drinking, very easy to drink as well. So as Ramon said with Altos de Luzon, which we know each other and we know the winery, what we try to do is modern wines, try to do wines that are really easy to drink, giving all the different profiles from the aging and the tradition that Jumilla can offer. I don't know if somebody said it here, but we're talking about a region that has been growing. Vitis vinifera was found here 5,000 years ago, and that's no joke. So we had to put that in place too. I mean, this is a very traditional area, growing grapes and making wine with them for centuries, millennials. So we take what nature gave us. I believe Elio said it perfectly too. I mean, nature helped us. We don't do nothing for nature. It's nature helping us. It's nature giving us the tools. It's giving us the soil. Those sandy soil that's thought the phylloxera at the time, giving us that rocky limestone ground that will keep the humidity, the very, very little humidity we have. And then what we have here is all vines. And the highest point was, so we have these vines suffering, trying to get water. They don't find it. So they're digging deep the roots. And what they find is these beautiful mineralities of the glass too, because the minerality there shows. Basically, that is the wine. The wine is tradition, but it's also approaching the new market. And it's a Monastral, as a pure sense of spices and black fruit, and then the spine, the structure from the Cabernet Sauvignon, and that friendly approach for the American market also. I mean, you guys American, we all know it. Cabernet Sauvignon is the king here, or the queen. And then when you approach and you feel that on the nose, it's like, oh, I know this one. It's like recognizing an old friend. It's like, I think I've seen you before. And that's what we want to approach with this glass.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely achieve that. And
Thank you.
I think the struggling old vines reflect themselves in the concentration of the wine and a really rich, opulent nose. And the small percentage of Cabernet Sauvignon. I think if I told someone who was not really familiar with Monastrell or Spanish wines, even in general, if I told them this was a high-end Napa Cab, I think it could be passed off as that.
That's the best
But it
compliment
has
in
that-
this country, for sure.
But it has that approachability that I love from the wines of your region, where you can drink this as 2020 now, and it's very enjoyable. It doesn't need to be, decanted for half a day or aged for a decade in a cellar. So
No,
I
that's the
think
funny.
that
That's the
compared
funny
again
part.
with-
A lot of people ask me, how long can you keep this wine? I don't keep it. We keep it for you. We put it in the market so you can drink it. Just have another bottle tomorrow.
Exactly. And I think that's what people want, is wines they can buy and drink now. It's pretty rare that a very, very small percentage of the market wants to buy a wine and hold it for even a year, needless to say, 5, 10, 20 years. So I think that's what people are looking for. So
Mhm.
I think it's great that you provide that.
I think it's like something like 78% of the population, at least in the United States, purchases a wine and drinks it within 48 hours of bringing it home.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's a really pragmatic country. Why would I keep it at home if you can keep it for me in the specials, in the perfect conditions? Yeah, why would I?
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
How about the finish?
Okay.
Because that's another thing we were trying to, because this is meant to be pairing with food. I mean, these bold wines are perfect for food pairing. And if you have all these spices going on, I mean, obviously you can drink it by itself, but I think it's great to have it for food because, as you all know, food is enhanced by wine, I believe. So a lot of people ask me here if we drink in Spain every day. Like, no, we drink when we want to. And we normally want to drink when we're eating. So yes, every day, but just a glass in moderation. So that finish is also happening. If you have that retronasal, aftertaste is there. So while you're eating, you have it there. And then it's pairing naturally on your machine here. No, your senses. How do you feel about that? The aftertaste. What do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it has a really nice, soft, smoky finish that is very pleasant and definitely brings you back for another sip. So kudos on that.
There you go.
Good.
Thank you.
Excellent. So why don't since we're on blends now, why don't we and have Eco Bodegas tell us about let's start with the Infinito, because that's the one that most of you guys have.
And this is truly a blend, because this is 70% Monastrell, 20% Syrah, 5% Petit Verdot, and 5% Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay.
Are they on?
Shane
Shane is here, right? Shane.
Hi, Shane. Hi, Shane.
Maybe she was before
She was
there, but
yeah.
she's just gone to toilet or something.
Oh.
I wanted to ask to Laurie actually about the museum. Did you actually visit the Hacienda del Carche Wine Museum?
I'm sorry,
you
say
Yes.
that. Yes,
Yes.
we walked through it. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you saw the entire. You get to see the entire process of making wine dating back 100 years ago. So you got to see the tools that they used to work with. What I found really fascinating was the soil samples.
Yeah.
The layers of soil. I think that's really important. And then you kind of go through and then the amphoras as well. But I think the soil, like being able to see that, it's like, oh, okay, now I understand, because when you have those old vines, they call it Pie Franco, right? The original rootstock that just kind of like, roots that just go down and down and down looking for the aquifer. It goes through layers and layers and layers of soil. So that just this lends more to the complexity of the wines. And speaking of Pie Franco,
right? We have a Pie Franco, right? Somebody has some.
Who's got a Pie Franco? We've got there was a Pie Franco in the mix, and I wanted to bring that up too, because I found that really is a fantastic just element you don't really see much of in other wine regions of Spain, of the Pie Franco, the original rootstock, ungrafted. Right. And I was hoping that we could talk a little bit about that.
Right. So that is another unique thing about Jumilla, again, with not having so much impact from the phylloxera because of the soils, because of the wind, because of everything that their climate is. They're able to have these own rooted monastrell vines. So they're dating all the way back. And so the term for own rooted is Bahia Franco. And so it just goes to show that the history and the tradition of these wines. And it's an important thing to have these vines and be able to keep them living and continuing with them. And Kristy, I think you were talking about the old vines and that concentration, and that is monastrell, that concentration. And we talked about there's 3 basic ways that the winemakers are giving the Americans really that brighter fruit that they want, and that's either by the blending or by picking earlier, okay, or by the processing. So we have different ways of processing it, bringing in, like a carbonic maceration versus whole cluster, and, they're bringing them in and they're processing them separately and blending them. Still 100% monastrell, but blending the processing. So did we find somebody who has the Bahia Franco?
I don't know. I don't see one here yet. I tell you what, why don't we, if you don't mind, Sierra Norte.
Oh, yes.
Would you like to talk about your Equilibrio number 9? Because Katie received a bottle of that because you're located in the DC area. Well, you have to unmute.
Oh, Ines, yes, you have to unmute your.
There we go.
Hear me now?
That's better. Yes.
There you are.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so I think the name of the wine, Equilibrio, very well explains the philosophy we have behind the wine. Okay, and I think the idea of the owner and the winemaker of the winery, it was to make a wine that is very well balanced. Like all the different components of the wine are very well balanced. And that's why we like to harvest a little bit earlier. So we have a higher acidity, we have more freshness in the wine, we have a lower alcohol, and even the aromas of the wine are fresher. So the Equilibrio 9, so we make 3 different Equilibrio wines, and the ones you got the sample, it was the high end, it was the Equilibrio 9. So this is 100% monastrell. And we use all vines from 40 to over 70-year-old bush vines, organic farming, as my colleagues were explaining. I mean, in this region, it's very easy to be organic. It's like Mother Nature is in our side. So the farming is 100% organic, and the wines are also organic certified. So the wine is 100% monastrell, as I was explaining, all vines, organic farming, and the wine was aged in barrels for 9 months. So that's why the name of the wine is Equilibrio 9. And we use both. We use French and American oak barrels. It's mostly French though. What we are trying to achieve here is for the aromas from the oak to be well integrated into the wine, to complement like everything that comes from the monastrell grapes. So you find a lot of ripe black fruit, freshness as well, dry herbs aromas, and balsamic notes, mint. The acidity is there, okay? So it keeps once again, it keeps the wine well balanced, good body, good structure. And that's what we were aiming to.
Wonderful. Well,
so how did the tasting go?
There we go. So we had Lauren, Lauren from New York. She's in New York and in Florida, and Katie, who's in DC.
Okay.
Those two that are here presently received your wine. So we could love to hear from what you have to say. Lauren, if you want to go ahead, and I'll go back to Katie. And
Okay, sure. I think of all the wines that I tasted, this one was more intense. There was a lot of complexity there. And not unlike the others, on the finish, I noted a little tiny hint of a raisiny note, and with all of the right black fruit, it reminded me a little bit of an Amarone, and you know, just a really just super complex big wine. And we paired it with a charcuterie platter with a bunch of different hams and cheeses, and it was really great, especially with the strong cheeses. You know, I think especially at the price point, I mean, this was a really intense wine, and if you like things like Amarone or Ripasso or anything like that, you definitely enjoy this wine too.
I just want to say,
Great.
Lauren, I want to come eat at your house. You're making me very hungry.
Yeah.
Your portobellos, your charcuterie, like I'm in.
Anytime, anytime.
Okay, Katie,
Yeah,
what would you think?
I mean, I think you chose a really great name for the wine, because coming in, I was already thinking balance with the equilibrium balance, and that is something that I'm always looking for in wines, is a perfect balance. And I think a lot of us look for that, especially in red wines that we know are going to be bigger, higher alcohol. Finding the balance can be difficult sometimes, especially again at this price point, which everyone keeps coming back to. But I think because it is really that difficult at this price point to find, and I think this does a beautiful job at that. This is something I could also see myself eating with a charcuterie and cheese board. I could see myself drinking this with many different things, which yeah, I'll leave the cooking to Lauren, because that is not my strong suit. But I could imagine many things that I would order at restaurants going very well with this. It is really well balanced and beautiful.
Thank you. And I agree with you. You know, I think we Spaniards, we drink wine with food. So we like to make our wines in a very food friendly way. So yeah.
Yeah. And so personally, I don't actually eat much red meat at all.
Okay.
And so, but when I go out to eat or with my husband, most people do like to eat red meat. So I, again, look for these wines that someone who's having steak would really enjoy. But for me, if I'm having chicken or even a sort of meatier fish, like a salmon, something like that, they could go equally well with my meal. And that's a challenge sometimes, but I think would be great for that.
I agree.
Would anybody else like to comment on the wine? No? Okay, so I think our last producer here is Ego Bodegas, and we'll go back into blends. And so yeah, we'll go back over to blends. So Shane, I think tell us a little bit about I can't hear you for some reason. You there? Hello? Oh, there you, hello? Let's see.
Shane was saying her connection was very good.
Oh dear.
Oh.
Okay.
So Shane, yes, we don't hear.
Oh.
We don't.
If Shane shuts off her camera, maybe.
Are you there? Okay. Shane, can you
Hi,
hear
April.
us?
I am here.
Oh, perfect. Yes. Okay.
I am here, but I actually I do need to run. I have a crying baby, to be honest.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
Katie.
So I'm gonna have to go on off video, if that's okay.
Okay. All right.
But I'll be listening. I'm sorry about that,
Okay.
everyone.
That's okay. That's all right. Shane, let's see. Hang on a second. No video. Maybe it's a bandwidth, right?
Right.
So if you go off video, speak?
Okay.
Maybe try that. Maybe it's a bandwidth thing. Because it'd be nice to hear about Infinito. Because Lauren received the Infinito, and Lori received the
Right.
Infinito. So it'd be good just to hear just a little bit about.
So to me, I think that it's got that characteristic of that herbs that come out to me in Jumilla. But it's a darker fruit. To me, it has a little bit more gripping tannin than the previous ones, but the finish is still, it softens as the finish comes along, which is showing that acidity that is in there. But I love that the rosemary, the thyme, that little bit of balsamic that is in there, that I am getting from there.
And
just to help Jay, since we can't hear her, so
oh,
these are 40-year-old vines, and they're located at 90 meters above sea level, and they are harvested in small batch, and they're my guess is that they're kept separate during vinification, and the coupage is made, so the blend is made based on the characteristics of each of the varietals to create a perfect balanced wine. So the Infinito, and Shane, like, nod if I'm going in the right direction. The blend, all of the varieties are harvested by hand. They are maintained separately for vinification. And then when it comes time to blending, they are sampling each of the individual blends for the Infinito. So every vintage, it might be a different blend, because they are picking out the best combinations of those individual vinified wines to create this total package of a wine. So they're looking for, that front palate, mid palate, and finish in order to blend together. So it is different in each vintage. Thumbs up, Shade?
Oh dear. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes, I think both Infinito and Goru are quite available now in the US. You can find it many places. So also you had to taste El Goru, right? El Goru Gold.
Yes.
Oh, the Goru Gold. Yes.
So from the Ego Winery. Kathy, I don't know if she's busy now, but I think she could taste it, and I think it's quite different wine, not to Infinito.
It's a different blend.
Right. So the Goru Gold is Monastrell, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Syrah.
And then the Infinito had the Petit Verdot.
Correct.
I have the Goro Gold.
Okay, so Lauren, you want to tell us about the Goro Gold?
I don't know that. Did I have that one?
Or it was who said I have Goro Gold? Oh,
I do.
sorry, pardon me.
Kristy.
Yeah, no, it's
Go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no,
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's a similar blend. Yeah, it is. I've got, let's see, 80% Monastrell, 15 Syrah, and 5 Cabernet Sauvignon. It's interesting how much the Cabernet Sauvignon comes through for me on this. It's really kind of cool to see, and so different than the single varietal Monastrells as well. This one definitely has more of that black fruit flavor to it, and it's got more. I don't want to say it has more structure than the one I just had, but it's bigger and just kind of. It needs to open a bit, and it is opening as it's been in the glass for probably a while now, but it's definitely like starting to come to life, and those aromas are really coming out. But definitely more of the black fruit here, like I said, to get more of that Cabernet Sauvignon hint in there with the Monastrell. Still has that freshness. The acidity is still there. It's still very fresh. Yeah, and it's got some of that spice. I want to say baking spice to it. A little bit of maybe even tobacco leaf there. So again, I think it's that Cabernet coming through, but it still has that kind of brightness and that lift from the Monastrell, especially in that mid palate acidity again. And like everyone has said, these are such food-friendly wines, and I think the takeaway for me from all of this is just how diverse it is. I think people kind of tend to think that Monastrell tends to be, like we've said, big and boisterous and just kind of similar and always needs food. But across the board, I have 3 different wines here that are all very different. So I think they express, what it can do in blends, what it can do on its own. And it's just really, you can get so many different things out of each one that it's, it's like apples and oranges. It's the same variety, but depending on where it's come from, how it's made, the age of the vines, and then the production process, it's really, you compare it with so many different things, and it has its own unique representation in each bottle, which I find just really kind of incredible. So that's my biggest takeaway from all of this, but it's fun to see in a blend. I haven't had a blend from Jumilla before. This is my first. And so it's really cool to see how it plays with the other grape varieties, and a little bit of the black pepper, which I'm assuming is from the Syrah, because that's coming through on the finish now as well.
Can I ask you a question? Since you said, is it allowed? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Kristy, you just said that there is a perception of the Monastrell as being bold. You used before also the word here, rough.
Yeah.
So what do you think that comes from? Because we are producing modern wines for over 20 years now. So why is it still there, sticking in the mind of the consumer that the perception of, okay, I'm going to find this in a bottle of wine, and maybe that is something that is stopping them from trying anymore as well.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's, everybody knows Monastrell and Mourvèdre. It's a big grape. It's a dark, thick-skinned grape. And so I think that's kind of the perception, at least in terms of those of us that go through wine education, that's what we're taught about it. From the consumer end, I think it's more just a matter of exposure and being able to try different styles of this wine. Jumilla it's hard to find in the stores still. You get a lot of Rioja and Ribera, and Jumilla is, you've got to kind of dig for it. So I think it's a matter of educating the consumers and letting them know what's out there and the variety that's out there and the stories behind these wines. I think that's the biggest piece. And then also educating the educators as well. Like I said, we're taught that it's a thick-skinned grape, that it's, dark and inky and part of blends. So I think it's a matter of just education, and the more communication we get out there about it, the better it'll be. And it's hard because there's a lot of varieties out there. There's a lot of producers out there. And so it's a matter of, positioning and how to tell the story. But I think Jumilla has a fantastic one, given the price points, given the history, given the quality. There's a lot of good things to say.
Thanks.
And if I can piggyback on Kristy, I think one of the reasons is, first of all, we are taught thick skin. Thick skin equals tannin. Tannin equals drying, big, bold wine. Secondly, in the United States, we see the Mourvèdre from Northern California, which is big, bold, in your face. These wines that are in the United States are bigger. So I agree with Kristy. It's the fact that we have to educate that it's not the same thing, that Jumilla is producing these wines. And again, I will use the elegance of it, that you are producing these wines, and that, you have to let the educators educate the less educated, right?
Yep.
To teach them that it does come in different expressions, and I think the biggest thing is that in the United States, the Mourvèdre is a big wine. It, they're selling that 100% Mourvèdre, and you are sitting down and you are chewing that wine. So I think that's what the Americans are seeing, and with the fact that they're not seeing Jumilla so much on the shelf, that they're not able to grab it to learn as easily. And at the price point that you're producing these spectacular wines, people are going to grab it if they have this much education. They're going to be able to, they're going to say, oh my gosh, I heard this isn't as big, and look at this price point, and they're going to grab it and they're going to fall in love.
That's exactly it. And it's not unique to Jumilla either. It's, that's kind of an overall consumer perception. I mean, it's hard to explain that Cabernet Sauvignon isn't Cabernet Sauvignon everywhere it's produced. It has its own different expressions. It's, California Cabernet Sauvignon is very different than, say, New York Cabernet Sauvignon. They're not the same thing, same grape, but different expressions. So it's not unique to Jumilla. It's just a matter of that continual education and letting people know what's out there. And I think Lori's right. If they have a little bit of exposure to it, they get curious, they get interested. And it's, people want to learn, especially the millennials and Gen Z right now. They are open to exploration. They're open to new wines, new ideas, new stories. Whereas, the older generations, I think you saw a lot more commitment to continuity and kind of sticking to the same thing. Like once they found their brand, that was their brand and that's what they wanted. And I think now you're finding people willing to explore, and they want to explore the world of wine. And so it's an exciting time to get the story out there.
And I honestly think another huge selling point is the Paia Franco, the fact that you are this own rootstock, because that's one of the first things that when you come into the wine world, phylloxera, and everything's devastated.
Every winery you go to.
Every winery, that's the first thing that everything is thrown at them. So I think that this concept of that you have the bush vines, that they're on their own rootstock, and that these vines are old, is another selling feature for you that we just need to educate the consumers on.
Sorry, Lori, you had a competitor. It's Candy Cane here.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought I should introduce you to the next generation of Jumilla drinkers. So
there you go.
My goodness.
Nice.
But I was listening as much as I could, and I agree with something that Kristy said about having to educate the educators, because that is the average consumer doesn't really, I don't think, know really anything about Monastrell, and maybe a little bit about Mourvedre, but probably not much. From what I see, people don't, like, they hear GSM blend, but they don't really know what the G, S, and M stand for even.
Right.
So it's really the educators who have this perception, and it's from, certainly what we get in the WSET classes, and probably, I can't speak to the Spanish Wine Scholar and those types of programs, but I'm guessing it's a similar type of message. Maybe not, but
it's a little bit different. WSET just forgets about Spain. If you see the map in the WSET, it's like, where's Spain?
I agree.
Because it's like, okay, you have Rio Paisas, you have Rioja, and then Cava.
Yep.
And now let's go to the series. I'm like, okay. How about the others? We're 69 appellations. I'm familiar with that, but
exactly.
It's British, right? And that says it all.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Well, this is kind of like, for me, this is a mission accomplished, because what I wanted to achieve with the sampling to the bloggers is to, and then organizing this session, is to educate and to clarify any questions you might have, and to stay in touch and engage with you guys, and have a conversation, because it's a big wine world out there, and this is just one little appellation in the southeastern corner of Spain. And I was hoping that we could just pull everybody together here, at least, learn a little bit more. I
was just wondering, and maybe Lori is the right person to ask, but could you do this as a day trip from, I guess, would it be like Valencia, or what would be the nearest big tourist destination?
I would suggest going to Alicante. Alicante is
Valencia is only 1 hour and a half drive. In fact, we have now a new motorway, so it's very close to Valencia.
Okay.
It's even better road from Valencia than from Alicante, because Valencia we have the motorway, it's all straight. In Alicante we have a normal road. It's still a good road, but it's an hour maximum from Alicante. and just 3 hours from Madrid. So you have these best options. You can go down from Madrid in the car or in the train, or go in the car from Valencia or from Alicante. We are very close. It's a good destination.
Are there tour operators? Are there local tour operators who do day trips from Madrid or Valencia?
Some tours, maybe from Benidorm, come over for visiting the day. They go and come. Also, maybe some tour from Alicante. I don't know. I should check. I know we also have day tours from Cartagena, from the the cruise stop, the big cruises stop in Cartagena, and sometimes they come up with the groups for the day in our tours.
Okay, great, thank you. And sorry, I'll just ask one more question, but do most of the wineries have pretty accessible cellar doors where you can stop in, or they take reservations, or are some closed to the public?
Yes, I think in general, our wine tourism industry is well developed. We have some wineries here, for example, we were speaking about the wine museum of Esencia del Carche, which Esencia Wines, which is Hacienda del Carche. They have very nice museum. I think, of course, it's better if you make reservation in advance, but anyway, probably you can just go and visit. Bodegas Luzon, Ramon can tell you, has a very nice wine tourism scheme. You can also make reservation before in advance, same as Carchello, no? You also host visitors from all over the world. Usually it's better with previous reservation, just to make sure the people is there. But in general, we do have a very good developed tourism industry. If you guys want to add something about your wine tours in your wineries.
Well, before they talk, Kristy, just to answer, all of the websites, or I would say the majority of the websites, when you go to their websites, they actually have an tourism link, and several of them have how you can reserve, what it costs to reserve, what's included in the tasting. So they all had that. They all had that link up there, so you can check to see how you can go about visiting them.
Now, as Esther was saying, the tourism has been, the winery side of the tourism has been increasing the last years, and every single winery has a part for that, people dedicated exclusively to that. You just have to avoid the peak times. If you're going to in summertime, or you're going in, I don't know, maybe when there's some bank holiday in Spain, then you will have to make sure, as he said, to book in advance, so just to make sure that they're going to be there and they're not booked out. But apart from that, you can go throughout the years, and we are all going to welcome you with our open arms. That is, we want visitors, we want to show the wines. As you said, the wine, it has to be shown. Once people drink the wine and they check the prices, they review them for sure. So that's the goal.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, on our website, on jumillawine.us, you can have links to the winery websites. Many of them say, open for visits, so easy access to the information. Okay, Lauren, did you want to mention anything else? I want to make sure that the wineries have a chance to hear from the bloggers and anybody else that could just impart some more information or knowledge. I think I want this to be a win-win for everybody spending the time with us today.
Okay, sure. Actually, I'm going to jump back to the Infinito wine, because I think I had a different wine from everyone else. Mine is a 2018, and it's 100% Monastrell. Did anyone else have that one?
I
think most
Infinito?
everyone else had a blend. Mine was 100%. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really lovely, and a little more intense on the tannins. There was lots of like dark fruit, and there was a little bit of licorice in there, and just very rich and almost syrupy. And on the finish, there was this really long trail of blackberry and then a little tiny bit of cocoa, like unsweetened cocoa powder. It was just really, really nice. So I just wanted to add that because I don't think, I think everyone else had a different wine and this was 100%. The other question that I had for the producers is, do any of you make a rosé from the Monastrell?
Oh, yes.
Because I'm a
Plenty.
rosé all year drinker, especially when I'm in Miami, and lots of people do. So I'm just kind of curious as to whether that's something that they also bring to the US, because I'd be super interested in that.
Yeah, Lauren, in our case at Bodegas Luzón, yeah, we have a rosé wine available in the US. So for 3 or 4 years now, we started making it. And
Okay,
yeah,
good
so
to know.
100% Monastrell, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Shane is writing about your observation, Lauren. She said the vintage of 2018 is 100% ungrafted Monastrell. In fact, it is the first time they are trying this blend. So we can assume they are in a new project. They have changed the wine to 100% Monastrell ungrafted. So you were speaking before about how the Piefranco Monastrell differs from other Monastrells. We can say, for me at least, clearly it's a bit more, the acidity goes up a bit more. And also you can change a bit the black fruits to the red fruits as the vine gets older. And I think is in tune with your comments, no?
Now that makes sense.
Lauren, it's not my wine, a wine from another winery, but at the end we are together in here and we had the same experience. On the past, we was blending part of the Monastrell with other varieties, because usually when you blend the wine, you can get something better balance or more things that you are looking for. But it's true that year and year and year after year, it's more complicated to cultivate grapes constant every year if you need irrigation. Have already done is to go to the Monastrell, increase the Monastrell as much as possible, trying to quality or increase it. And on most of my wines, like Carcelo and the old brands that we had with some blends on the past, the blend is getting lower, and usually Monastrell on almost all of the wines. So probably it's the same to these other people. And on the other side, the WSET is teaching people to drink no wines. They explain you how to taste a variety of wine, of grape. So on the other side, when you are giving the wine for testing to people, if this is a blend with more than 3 varieties, they don't. So the wineries are adapting the wines to what people is asking for. On this case, varieties. So 2 ways for the same goal. And probably is what is happening on this other wine. Trying to do it this year, not just a little bit different, because if you take other varieties out, for sure the wine is different. And be focused on what people is buying. On my side, is that the point?
That makes sense.
Yeah, she was saying also more than a new project, it's about trying different things. And okay, now everyone can read, he says, because she was writing to me, but now she's writing to
one more thing, Lauren, sorry, Esther. 2 rosés on the States. And I really want, if you like it, the rosé, we can send you samples whenever you want, because we are in love of those and we trust very much on the other one. You will be amazed with.
Oh, it'll be my pleasure to try them. Thank you.
For sure.
I'd love to try them as well. I'm always looking for rosé. It's really hard to find. I just saw one for the first time, I think, in a while on a restaurant wine list last weekend, Jumilla Rosé, but otherwise I haven't seen one, certainly not in any stores around here.
Katie, a problem the last year. It's not a problem. So you prepare the wine, as soon as possible, you send the wine, but there was something crazy with the transport. It was too slow.
Oh, yes,
Uh-oh.
yes, that's
And is that
been a
the
major
wine
issue.
arrives on summer,
Yeah.
not on spring.
Yes,
Oh.
On
yes.
spring, people was not allowing. So it was something strange with the moment in which people was wine on the market and when the wine
Mhm.
arrives. So probably
Well-
that's the point.
Well, maybe
for
we
same-
could consider doing a rosé sampling in the spring or summer.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Hopefully the 2001 vintage will be in the States. Maybe.
This year for sure, because this year was an early harvest. I'm drinking my new vintage now. So
Oh, great. So 2002 will be
we can send the
available
sample
in the
when,
States.
yeah,
Okay.
even for January if you want.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Terrific.
In our case, the 2022 is already. I mean, it's ready. It's bottled. I mean, even for the US market, it hasn't been taken yet, but we bottled it a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
So that one is ready for us to send samples, and it will be available in the US soon once they take it. I
Great.
mean, around January or February, something like that. So no problem. I mean, in our case, it's already made.
perfect.
Terrific. That's great news. So we'll be able to sip on some Jumilla rosé come summertime.
And very different styles as well. No, the
Oh,
rosé
sure.
of Luzon is more pale, very elegant and smart, but different to the rosé of Carcelo, which is more with more color, no, a bit more presence of a bit more time, I guess, in the press. A bit more traditional, let's say.
Okay. Well, that's something to look forward to. All
Trying
right.
to make
Does
a
anybody else have
rosé
anything else, like
fight or something.
comments or questions to clear up before we sign off?
From
Otherwise,
our point of view, pues nothing. Thanking you so much for your availability, for your interest to know about Jumilla Wines and about our cellars. We share this interest, and we're very happy and available to speak with you anytime and keep tasting Jumilla. So thank you.
all right.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to wrap, I really have fallen in love with Jumilla, and it's wonderful to see the other bloggers taste it and to enjoy the wines. And thank you for all of the producers, the ones that I've met. That trip is near and dear to me. Esther, thank you so much for, walking us all over the place and sharing everything with us. And, April, for the introduction to Jumilla. The wines really are beautiful, and we just need to get the word out a little bit more.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you,
was awesome. And thank you to all the
everybody.
producers. Appreciate you showing up today and sharing your wines.
Yes. And thank you, everybody,
Thank
for
you.
your time today.
Okay.
In
Thank you.
Jumilla.
Cheers.
Jumilla waits for you.
Cheers.
So cheers to the holidays.
Salud.
I can't drink
Salud.
them. Salud y felices fiestas.
Sí.
Okay.
Bueno,
Yeah.
Gracias.
Y
Gracias.
hasta pronto. Gracias.
Hasta
Okay,
pronto.
thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you so
Gracias.
much.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Everyone.